right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, a physique update of Carlos Thomas Jr., where he says he's actually weighing around 240 pounds in this physique update. You get to see a front double bicep, a side chest, a most muscular, and a back double bicep. Now, the interesting thing about this post to me was A, we know he's pro now, and B, the fact that he's weighing 240 pounds, but C, the fact that it looks like he's now working with Cash Goodry, a new coach who is also currently coaching Logan Franklin, one of the most successful fastest rising stars in classic physique. Now, he was working with Patrick Tour as his coach, the same guy that coached Ian Valliere, the same guy that coached James Hollingshead. So the switch of coaches, I think, is interesting. The fact that he's so heavy, 240 pounds, and he was talking about potentially competing in the 212 category, partially due to his height. I think these are interesting new facts about Carlos Thomas Jr. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in terms of whatever his first pro show, his pro debut is going to be with this new coach who's a successful coach, with his knowledge that he's bringing with him from his previous coach in Patrick Tour. And it looks like their goal is to add on size, and 240 pounds for a guy of his height is pretty big. And you guys could see he did a guest appearance with Nick Walker. In doing this front double bicep with Nick Walker, granted, he's vastly out-angling Nick. He's clearly much closer to the camera, and that is attributing a lot of the reason why he looks bigger than Nick here. But Nick is a freak. He's known as the mutant, and while he's holding his own here with Carlos Thomas Jr., I think it certainly goes without saying that Carlos has some of the freakiest arms in the IFBB right now. And prior to Carlos, if you said who's got the freakiest front double bicep in the IFBB right now, I think a lot of people would say Nick Walker, but you got to look at Carlos in this pose and be impressed. So I'm really excited to see what Carlos is going to be able to do as a pro. You talk about a fast rising star like Nick Walker, and just look how good Carlos looks next to him. Granted, even though Carlos had just competed a lot sooner than Nick had, Carlos is out-angling him. He looks fantastic in this picture, and I don't think anybody can deny that, and I don't think there's anybody right now that's not excited to see what Carlos is going to be able to do as a pro and what his decision is going to be as far as 212 or open and where that pro debut will be. Now, next up in the news, let's talk about the Arnold Classic for a second. Another guy, kind of the theme of these past couple of videos is going to be guys that I think are a little bit of a dark horse going into the show. We talked a lot about Justin Rodriguez. We talked a lot about a couple of videos ago Brett Wilkin potentially being a dark horse here. And another guy that I think is a dark horse that could very likely find himself in that first call out in that top 5 or 6 is Samson Dauda. Samson Dauda is a pro show winner going into the show. I think that's a big reason why he got the invitation to the Arnold in the first place. Samson had just won the Prague Pro, and you're looking at this physique update now of Samson from 8 weeks out, but if you go over and look at how he looked at the Prague show, he looked fantastic, and he beat a really good lineup there in Prague of Nathan Diasha, a guy that had won pretty much more pro shows than anybody else in Open in 2021. He also beat Regan Grimes, another pro show winner who won the KO Pro Show. He also beat Rafael Brandau, who was in that lineup. Rafael Brandau, another pro show winner who won the Romania Muscle Fest. So Samson beat not only a really deep lineup, but he beat a lot of the other pro show winners that are going to be in the Arnold Classic this year. And that was one of the most recent victories before the Arnold. That was in November, I believe, the Prague Pro. So in recent memory, he's done very well. He's beat most of these guys really recently. And by most of those guys, I mean most of the guys that are kind of on the same level as him, these guys that are winning these pro shows, but maybe not yet going against some of these biggest names. Like Regan, we didn't really get to see him in a call-out with some of these biggest names at the Olympia because his placing was so low. Nathan hadn't competed in the U.S. for a while now. Same with Rafael. He took a pretty significant amount of time off because he was sick. So we're going to get to see them all compete again against each other at the Arnold, but I think you got to kind of have that in the back of your mind that Samson just beat all these guys going into the Arnold, so there's potential that he goes up against some of these guys like Brett, some of these guys like Justin that we talked about being wild cards. I think they're kind of on a similar playing field to where Samson is. You gotta think that he's got the potential to beat them too, and probably find himself in that first call out. There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of wild cards in this Arnold Classic, and that's part of why I'm so excited that this video today is also sponsored by the Arnold Sports Festival. You can go to their website right now and buy tickets today.
I think that every bodybuilder has something unique, especially the bodybuilders today. I mean, wow, they are big.
Now, next up in the news, this is something that a lot of you guys have been sending to me lately. Probably the most DM'd thing of the week would be this topic here. Lorenzo Becker making his comeback to bodybuilding. Now, Lorenzo was a French bodybuilder. He was also a pretty big YouTuber during the time that I was coming up as a viewer of YouTube videos. When I was like a teenager and getting into working out and getting into bodybuilding, and I was watching videos of other guys my age pursuing bodybuilding, watching their training videos, watching their dieting videos, watching their tips and tricks, and even watching some of these guys for motivation. Lorenzo was one of the guys back when I was a YouTube consumer, a YouTube viewer, that I watched all the time. And he kind of disappeared for a period of time, and he made this comeback video to YouTube where he says he's going to be documenting his progress, and he kind of shows his current starting point where he has a pretty mind-blowing transformation from really kind of the mass monster that he used to be to what he's weighing now, where I believe he said he weighs like 170 pounds now. He's almost like a completely regular guy. Now, I talked to him a couple months ago about his comeback, so I kind of know a little bit more in detail what he's planning to do. Now, I don't think he wants me to say too much about what those plans were, but I do know it involves competition. And what he said in his, what he was saying in his video is he's going to be vlogging and documenting, like step by step, him transitioning back into the bodybuilder physique and him really kind of throwing everything he's got at this transformation. And I think it's going to be super interesting to follow that journey and see where that leads him, because like I said, you know, he was gone for a pretty substantial amount of time, and to the point where I was reading forum posts, you know, speculating whether or not he had passed away, and people saying, you know, what happened to Lorenzo Becker? It had kind of been this mystery because it was kind of just radio silence, nothing for so long. And now he's back. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Go subscribe to his channel if you have not subscribed already, or maybe if you unsubscribed because you thought, you know, he was gone or something. He's coming back, and I think the transformation is going to be really cool to watch. So definitely showing my support for Lorenzo here. Now, next up in the news, actually, while I was recording this video, I saw that Terrence Ruffin hopped on a live stream, and I asked him on that live stream if he was over, essentially if he was over having the virus and if he had any bad symptoms or anything, and he kind of described his experience, but it sounds like he's pretty much over it now, which is what I wanted to get confirmation of, because I saw that he had posted that he was positive for the virus maybe like a week ago or something. And as you guys know, he's the defending champion competing in the Arnold Classic coming up here in March. I was hoping he didn't have it too bad. It looks like he's over it now. I saw him post on his story that he tested negative maybe yesterday. So he basically said nothing too bad, didn't sound like too much of a setback, and it looks like he's back on track as far as prepping for the Arnold Classic. It's crazy right now because it seems like everybody has it. Chris Bumstead just had it just a couple weeks before Terrence did. Terrence, who was second place at the Olympia, had it. So it's kind of crazy how many people it seems like, as far as bodybuilder-wise, it's kind of running through everybody. But yeah, I know some of you guys were asking me about Terrence, if I had any update. Looks like he's doing fine. It doesn't look like it's going to be an issue at all as far as his Arnold Classic preparation is concerned. So that is going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. Click that bell notification icon if you want to be updated for all the latest and greatest NSP videos. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.